Well, with the 30-day deadline already missed for ANC members who face charges to step aside, it remains to be seen what's going to happen next. The ANC's National Working Committee is meeting today. The step-aside rule of course resolution is expected to be high on that agenda. To discuss this, I'm joined by Levy Ndou. Levy, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So the ANC did not act last week when D-Day arrived. They said they will deal with the issue this week. What can we expect?
Well, I think we need to acknowledge the fact that this is some kind of a hot potato on the part of the ANC, and they need to be very, very careful on the steps that they actually take in the implementation of this decision. And I think what we just have to acknowledge for now is the fact that the NWC is meeting and the process seems to be moving. So what we need to expect now will be, firstly, to know the people or the names that are being indicated, and then establish as to whether these people are actually going to step aside or not. But what I really expect, or the possibilities that all those that are implicated might actually try to buy their time and not step aside as early as expected. But at the end of the day, most of these people are actually going to step aside.
But the resistance we expect is to come from those high-ranking members, and that's, of course, a smack in the face of ANC policy and decisions.
Quite unexpected. But you would understand that most of these people have taken politics as a career. And when they have to step aside, it actually taints them and preventing them from the possibility of being re-elected into these positions of responsibility. But I think it is time now for the ANC itself to actually provide a direction and hope on the part of ordinary citizens that indeed the ANC is very serious in the fight against corruption. And there is no better time, unfortunately. And if there are decisions that have to be taken and implemented, you'd actually expect those that are in leadership positions to actually lead by example in order to show that indeed they are serious about the fight against corruption, but also to lead by example. And that is what is expected of leaders of any political party.
So what impact will this have and the next move have on the local government elections for the ANC?
For me, it has a huge impact. The ANC is known as a party that is very lenient on corruption. And if the ANC has to act against corruption within its ranks, it has a potential of attracting those that had actually abandoned the ANC during the 2016 local government elections. It will also be an indication that in terms of the fight against corruption, the ANC is taking bold steps, and it is even prepared to compromise their own leaders in the fight against corruption. And that, for me, would be to say that whether you are in any position in the ANC, but when we fight corruption, we don't care, because corruption affects negatively those that are supposed to be the recipients of the services from government.
And of course, there are some people who have already said that they will go to court to challenge this decision from the ANC. So the ANC doesn't see this end here, does it?
Well, there is a possibility of some people challenging this in court. But remember, these are the decisions that were taken by the members of the ANC themselves at conference. And for me, taking the matter to court will be a clear indication of ill discipline and people who want to serve themselves rather than serving their own organization. Remember, when an individual or a person joins a party, you are supposed to be subjected to the rules by the decisions taken at a party level. So taking the matter to court might be their own individual rights, but it will be a clear indication of an element of ill discipline amongst those who might actually consider doing so.
Yeah. So the NWC is currently meeting. We know that the party said we should hear from it regarding the step forward during the week. Do you reckon we're going to hear something quite substantial by Friday?
There is no place to hide now on the part of the ANC. It's either they come out to the public and say, these are the implicated people, or these are the people that we expect them to step aside. The bold ANC that has to fight against corruption in South Africa would actually come up with that list and actually indicate to us what the step is actually going to come next. But anything can happen. The possibility of people wanting to take extra time, it's also a possibility. And also, I expect also some people to try their level best to derail the process, maybe trying to say that there are certain things that we don't understand or which is not very clear, because there are some who would love to buy time because they do not want this decision to be implemented as early as possible.
And lastly, let's talk about Ace Magashule, the Secretary General of the ANC. He's the one that most people are watching quite closely here, right? What's his political future given his decision here when it comes to stepping aside?
The decisions that Ace Magashule can take this week has a potential to build or to destroy him. Why do I say so? If he decides to step aside and he's then cleared by the courts of South Africa, he stands a much better chance to come back and continue with his work in the ANC whilst he is not tainted. If he stays longer and derail his step-aside decision, he would actually be tainting himself and portraying himself as an individual who wants to be seen as being bigger than the organization, who also want to derail the implementations of the resolutions of his own party. And that also has its own implications. And for me, I think Mr. Magashule has to take a decision which is in the best interest of his party in order to show that he is selfless, and whatever he do, he would put his own organization at first. And it is up to him to decide what is best for his party and for himself.